Bueno, ¿qué tal, chicos y chicas? Bienvenidos a un nuevo vídeo en el canal. Jornada de martes y seguimos con ese post, con esa resaca todavía del Pittsburgh Pro. Han hablado muchas personas. Ha hablado Dorian Yates, ha hablado Chris Cormier, ha hablado Dave Palumbo, ha hablado Chris Aceto. Y nos vamos a centrar sobre todo en estos dos últimos, porque hablan, y lo vamos a ver, de todo el tema del Open, Nick Walker contra Darren Larford, si fue más justo, menos justo, como lo vieron, etcétera, etcétera. Pero en concreto estos dos últimos destacan que algo que yo ya venía reivindicando, decir, bueno, aquí la gente en Estados Unidos hablará del clásico, ¿no? Porque parece que ha sido un poco como que pasa un tupido velo cuando hay una competición de Open. Pues bien, estos dos se centran en analizar el campeonato y Dave Palumbo deja una frase que desde luego va a dar bastante juego. Los jueces cometieron un error en no dar el título a Josema. Una opinión de Dave Palumbo que cuanto menos es respetable, pero es que la de Chris Aceto es aún mejor. La de Chris Aceto yo me he quedado totalmente impactado porque estamos hablando de un tipo que las ha visto de todos colores en el mundo del culturismo, uno de los mejores preparadores de la historia de esta disciplina, que dice que él creía que sabía lo que era la condición hasta que ha visto a Josema, que no sabe qué es lo que hace o qué es lo que habrá hecho, pero que desde luego le gustaría saberlo porque nunca ha visto a nadie con esa condición. Lo está diciendo Chris Aceto, lo escuchamos el otro día, fue a Daviat. Si se buscaba un impacto por parte de Josema, ese impacto desde luego ha llegado. Así que como digo, vamos a pasar a analizarlo todo porque vamos a escuchar reacciones de todos los colores, no sin antes, por supuesto, no olvidarme de los códigos de descuento, ya los conocéis, código Iron Road en toda la web de Big, por supuesto, daros las gracias al apoyo que le estáis dando al código y sobre todo gracias a ese apoyo os vengo a traer precisamente este nuevo producto de Big que me parece espectacular, yo ya lo he pedido porque yo necesito esto en mi vida, que es el sabor a piruleta de la HIZO 0, la proteína más alta del mercado, con 91% de proteína aislada, perfecta para vuestra definición, por ejemplo en la fase en la que estoy yo, mientras menos cosas de por medio haya en la proteína mejor, así que como digo, aprovechad, además en un envase bastante pequeño de 750 gramos, perfecto para transportar ahora que van a venir las vacaciones, etcétera, etcétera, aunque aquí no vamos a tomar pocas, ya os lo voy diciendo, y más como viene el tema del culturismo, pero desde luego que es espectacular para ello, y por supuesto también lo conocéis, el código Iron Road en toda la web de Agonjin con ese pack 3x2 en el nuevo drop Back in the Game. Como digo, vamos a pasar de más, o mejor dicho, de menos a más, sobre todo entendiendo el más, la parte que más nos toca, que es la de Josema, y vamos a empezar con las declaraciones que se han ido teniendo en las últimas horas por parte de varios de los integrantes de la comunidad del culturismo, algunos que hablan bastante poco, como es el caso de Dorian Yates. Y vamos a ver qué opinaba Dorian Yates de esa victoria de Derek sobre Nick Walker y sobre todo de cómo salió Nick Walker. Vamos a escucharlo.
I would say that Nick Walker would have won, in my opinion. I was in better condition and everything. What the fuck's up with the chewing gum on stage, man?
Yeah, I don't.
That's Mr. Walker, don't chew gum on stage, mate. Come on.
That is a rookie move. I don't know what he was doing, but.
Pues ahí lo teníamos, para Dorian Yates el campeón era Nick Walker, eso sí, le pega un palo con el tema del chicle y dice, hombre, el chicle déjatelo en casa, ¿no? Vamos a ir directos al tema Palumbo y Aceto, ¿vale? Porque son los que luego a la posteriori han destacado el tema de Josema. Vamos a escuchar lo que decía en este caso Chris Aceto cuando le preguntan, sobre todo por los rumores y demás que hay sobre que le robaron a Nick Walker, etcétera, etcétera. Vamos a escucharlo.
In my opinion, but now that you've had some time to digest it all, give me the analysis.
Well, I'm hearing rumors that when they gave the piece of paper that had Nick's name on it as the winner, that Bob Chick announced it as Derek. So
you're funny. Save face.
There's going to be an investigation into that. I forgot the question, Dave. That's how tired I
am. What's your analysis of the weekend? In other words, people want to know why Derek won, and I'll give you my opinion in a minute, but I want to hear your opinion first.
Well, I mean, we can go pose by pose with the last call out, and I think that to really draw the distinction, they needed the last call out, which, you know, if it was tied. I mean, I have my opinion, you know, which is obviously biased. But I try to take a neutral opinion. I mean, Nick looked incredible. I think that there was an expectation that it wouldn't be close, and obviously it was more than close. It was tied, and the judges put him through the ringer. I mean, the ringer at the end. And I think that Nick was better at night, and I think that Derek was definitely better at night. And I mean, that's obviously one shot you got up on the screen. It's just one shot, but Derek was fantastic at night in the back shots. You know, his Christmas tree was better. He's probably the only guy in the show with a Christmas tree, which could be better, could be still better. His Christmas
I think Martin's came in at night. It
Yeah.
wasn't there in the prejudging, yeah.
Yeah, wasn't there at the prejudging. And, you know, I think you have to analyze really to treat the show fairly, which the judges did, obviously. You know, you got to go pose by pose, because there's poses that I think that Nick won, and there's poses that Derek won, from my vantage point, you know, sitting in the fifth row.
Yeah, your opinion, my opinion. But now that you've had some time to digest it all, give me the analysis.
Pues ahí teníamos la opinión en este caso de Chris Aceto, y ahora quiero también escuchar lo que decía Dave Palumbo, porque ambos estuvieron bastante cerca de la tarima y no es lo mismo ver las cosas desde el streaming que desde la tarima. Vamos a escuchar a Dave Palumbo.
Come back and reclaim his, you know, grandiosity that he had prior to that. And I think that it was close enough that the Nick Walker fans wanted to see Nick win. But, you know, I had no horse in the race. You did, but I had no horse in the race. And I sat there, and, you know, I'm a guy who likes Nick's physique. I like Derek's physique too, but I had to sit there and say who sticks out in my mind. I didn't think it was not close. I thought it was very close, but I also thought that there was no doubt in my mind that Derek was the winner. And I don't know why, but my eyes just went to Derek. More dynamic, he had more wow factor. Nick was dramatically improved. I'm sure Bob Chick was shaking in his boots at how good Nick improved and how much better his physique is, but it wasn't better than Derek's in my estimation and the judge's estimation on that night. And that's just the way it is. We were sitting there. If I wasn't in the second row, I wouldn't have such a strong opinion, but sitting in the second row, you were a little behind me. I felt that it wasn't close. You kept asking me. I said, I don't think it's close. I think Derek's got it. And I said, you know, he's the winner. I said, is this a great look for Nick? Yes. Will he do New York Pro next week and probably win? Yes. See the guy come back and reclaim his, you know, grandiosity that he had prior to that. And I think that it was close enough that the Nick Walker fans wanted to see Nick win.
Pues ahí teníamos la opinión de Dave Palumbo, y como digo, vamos a pasar ya directos al tema de Josema, porque es quizá lo que más nos interesa de este vídeo, y es sobre todo el ver cómo en este caso tanto unos como otros alucinan bastante con el tema del físico que presentó Josema. Vamos a escuchar.
You know, this Josema or Jose Manuel guy is unbelievable. I thought that was a bad decision. I thought that was the only bad decision of the night. What do you think? Let's pull up some pictures of Jose Manuel.
Dave, I didn't watch the show, but I watched.
You did watch the show. You were there.
I did not watch the classic. But
you made me stay for the classic.
No, I stayed for not the comparisons. And my impression was this. This is my impression watching Jose and Rough Diesel come out to do their own like individuals. Jose, I like rubbed my eyes and I thought, oh good, thank you, Jose. Now I know what conditioning is, because it was insane, right?
Better than anyone else in the show, for sure.
Miles. And Rough Diesel, when he came out, I thought by comparative, right, that he was going to look soft. And when I was watching Rough Diesel, I thought this. I thought this right immediately. I said, this is going to come down to personal preference, 1 point. And I thought that Rough would win based on this, because I've seen him in comparisons where he maximizes his shape in the poses to look, quote, more classic than anyone else in the lineup. And I thought, if it's close, it's going to be 1 point, and that's how he's going to win. But the flip side of me said, but how do you deny that condition? So I didn't see the comparisons for the prejudging. I wish I had.
I just showed them to you, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got to see. Let me see. Let me see the back or anything. I can't tell from that, Adam.
There's your back post. You know, these pictures don't even do Jose justice because he was so impressive in person because his conditioning is so wacky, you can't even capture it.
Pues ahí lo teníamos, ¿no? A Chris Aceto destacando sobre todo eso, ¿no? Yo creo que es una de las frases que más me han sorprendido, ¿no? El hecho de coger y ver cómo, por ejemplo, una de las grandes leyendas como entrenador dice, me froté los ojos y pensé, vaya, ¿no? Ahora sé lo que es estar en forma, ahora sé lo que es estar condicionado, ¿no? Algo que desde luego que impacta, ¿no? Porque precisamente el objetivo era ese, impactar, y desde luego se ha conseguido. Vamos a escuchar lo que decía sobre qué es lo que tiene que hacer Josema para lucir así de bien, porque Chris Aceto no se lo explica.
That, you know, people are going to say, and of course I could care 2 cents, but to put it in perspective, only to give you context, people are going to say, that's because Chris is lobbying for Derek. You have to be there sometimes to, pictures and video do not show what you see 5 rows back, because this kid looks conditioned, like out of his mind in this picture, but in real life, I'm serious. It was conditioned where you go like,
whoa.
No, where you say, as somebody who preps people, I wonder what he did to look like that. You know, you start saying, geez, I wonder if he did like 3 hours of cardio, or I wonder if he did no carbs, or I wonder if he did like, maybe he did like no carbs, lots of fat,
right.
The cardio.
Right.
You know,
right.
You can't grasp how he ended up looking like that, because it was like, when you say skinless, it was skinless and waterless. So for that reason, I didn't know, like, you know, you know, judges are going to just say it's just too much. The condition is too much, first place. Yeah. And he's going up against somebody who's bigger than he's been in the past. And, you know, I've always said on this show, Rough Diesel's incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, I would have been more upset if I were this guy losing to Rough Diesel than Nick was losing to Derek.
Well, the reason being is because anyone who was there, anyone and everyone, judges are going to, like, all they can say after this show, like, what do I get to do to improve? Every single judge who didn't have him first is going to say, which is, you know, split, they're going to say, nothing. You looked nuts.
Right.
So that loss is probably a hard loss to take, besides being 1 point, which is different than a tie. You know.
Pues ahí teníamos a Dave Palumbo y sobre todo a Chris Aceto alucinando con el físico de Josema. Yo sobre todo me quedo con esa frase, ¿no? Con la frase que le comenta de qué fue lo que hizo, ¿no? ¿Qué hizo para verse así, ¿no? Y luego aparte el tema de hablar, de decir, bueno, cuando hayan ido a preguntar a los jueces en qué puedo mejorar, lo normal es que los jueces le hayan dicho, no pueden mejorar en nada. Esto es difícil de mejorar por todos lados, ¿no? Desde luego que una reflexión muy, muy interesante. Y por otro lado, ya para terminar, vamos a escuchar lo que dicen de cara al próximo Olympia, porque yo creo que sobre todo el puñetazo encima de la mesa viene a raíz de eso, de decir, ahora ya te conocen más que de sobra, ahora ya saben perfectamente quién eres, y ahora cuidado, cuidado, porque vas a ser peligroso para dentro de la pelea de ese top 5. Vamos a escucharlo.
I got news for you. He's going to be a dangerous guy on the Olympia stage.
Big time.
I don't think that Rough Diesel will touch him on the Olympia stage. And I'm a huge, I love Rough Diesel's physique, but you know what? This guy is in another orbit, you know? He can get a little more, maybe a little more full. I don't even know if he needs more fullness, but even a little more fullness might, you know, he's probably having trouble making weight, I'm sure.
You can't say, right? If you can get more fullness, you can't, there's nothing else to criticize.
Yeah, no.
Because you know what the funny thing is? I understand what you mean, because he can't improve on the condition, so you say,
no.
Well, but he wasn't flat.
No, I know he wasn't. That's why I thought, I actually didn't even really pay attention because I didn't think it was even close. And then when I heard that Rough Diesel was announced in first place, I'm like, What? I thought maybe he dropped out of the show. I was very surprised at that decision. But yeah, it is what it is. You know, like I said, I mean, you can't say Rough Diesel didn't look good. He looked good, but it's apples and oranges. I just thought it wasn't close. This guy's taller. He's got better conditioning. His coloring was good. His posing was great. The only thing I don't really like about what he does on stage is that he kind of like hits a lot of his shots from the side. Yeah. And I think that's a mistake a lot of guys make. He's got a small waist. If you got a small waist, hit those shots straight on, because it makes you look like narrow, when you do that. And I don't know why people think that looks better. It doesn't look better. You can't, as Arnold would say, you can't hide your physique. You got to kind of show it, And so the only thing I could give him criticism would be.
Look at the pecs. Look at the leg.
I know. It's just nuts. He really, for classic, he really had no weaknesses. Like I said, other than the fact that I would have liked to see him hit some of his poses a little bit more conventionally, I think that he was the clear-cut winner.
Pues yo creo que con esa reflexión de Dave Palumbo podemos ir cerrando el vídeo, ¿no? Para algunos en Estados Unidos fue el claro ganador. Esto luego ya, insisto, ya esto lo hemos hablado largo y tendido. Son decisiones de los jueces y hay que respetar. A partir de ahí, yo creo que es muy interesante lo que comentan. A lo mejor alguna que otra variación en el posing puede entrar. Esto ya es decisión de Josema y de su equipo. Pero lo que ahí tenemos a Chris Aceto partiéndose el culo cuando dice, bueno, igual a lo mejor podía haber ido a lo mejor un poco más lleno. Y dice Chris Aceto, es que ya iba lleno, o sea, es que iba lleno, iba acondicionado, no se puede hacer mucho más, no se puede salir mejor, ¿no? Así que desde luego que va a ser muy interesante ver lo que ocurre, no solamente en este New York Pro de dentro de 5 días, sino también, evidentemente, de cara al Mr. Olympia. Y sobre todo, pues esta gente lo tiene claro. Que sí, aquí ha ganado Rough Diesel, pero que en el Olympia, ya habéis escuchado a Dave Palumbo, que en el Olympia se juzga un poquito diferente y que mucho cuidado, a pesar de que los jueces son exactamente los mismos. Así que, como digo, chicos y chicas, esta es la actualidad del mundo del culturismo. Esto es un poquito de la resaca, ¿no? De lo que arrastramos de ese Pittsburgh Pro. Elogios a Josema, elogios a Nick Walker, ya lo dije ayer, son los dos grandes reforzados de este campeonato. Así que dejadme en la caja de comentarios qué opináis. Fuerte like al vídeo, suscribiros al canal y, como siempre digo, chicos y chicas, siempre a más.